I didn't see you there. Welcome to my desk. My name is Keon, and today I'm going to be doing some drawings of the film Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. I recently rewatched this movie a few days ago, and I was just reminded of how good it is, and it really made me want to make this video. So, let's get started. So I'm gonna start with one of the most iconic scenes of Psycho, which is the shower scene. This is a really famous moment in cinema. It's been referenced, talked about. There's been books written about it. It was a very influential scene. And as you can see, I'm using these colored markers, or I'm using a colored marker, because I just thought that it's actually a good way for me to branch out. It's kind of ironic because this movie is actually in black and white, and this is one of the first times I'm using color in one of these videos. And this movie is actually from 1960, and by that point in time, it was actually pretty common for most movies to be in color. It is an older movie, but by that point, there were people, it was pretty common. And I thought it was an interesting choice, knowing that they made it in black and white. It definitely adds something to the scariness factor, I think. Or maybe that's just how I look at it in hindsight. But the actual reason that the movie was made in black and white was to save money. Alfred Hitchcock had a really hard time getting funding for this movie. There was a lot of people against it for a lot of reasons. He was actually forced to make a lot of concessions in order to get this movie made, which is a little bit weird to think about if you know about him and his career, because at this point he had just finished making one of his most popular movies and successful, which is North by Northwest. But because of the movie's subject matter, it was based on a novel that was actually based on a true crime. The story is pretty dark, I think, for that time in American cinema. You know, there was a lot of restrictions back then. Famously, this scene showed for the first time in major media a toilet flushing, which is kind of weird to think about as being like something racy, but it was the first time it had ever been done. I'm not so sure about how many shower scenes were in movies before or whatever, but not only is there a naked woman, but she's getting murdered. Spoiler, sorry. I'm not trying to give away too much of the story. I mean, it is a movie that's like well over 50 years old, but a lot of times, like when you haven't seen something but you know about it and you've seen imagery of it, and then you actually watch it, you can still be surprised by the way some things are done or the way the story is told. At least for me, whenever I'm watching something that's really famous or influential and I've never seen it before, I tend to have like in my head an idea of how things are going to go or what things are going to look like, and a lot of the times I'm wrong, and that can be a really pleasant surprise. In general, I'm not the biggest like, I don't really care about spoilers that much. Like, I don't think about that. Doesn't ruin the plot for me if I know, or the experience. It doesn't ruin it for me to know what's gonna happen. And a lot of times with scary movies specifically, I will actually look up the plot before I watch it, because I do get anxiety and I just want to know what I'm in for. Like, I do like watching scary movies, but I do also like to know what's going to happen. I know that's kind of not a shared sentiment for a lot of people, but for me, it doesn't really matter. So, but for those of you that do care about spoilers, I'm going to try to keep myself from giving every little detail. Even though I'm pretty much drawing the whole movie and all the major scenes, but I'll leave some things to the imagination, and I hope that if you haven't seen this movie, you'll watch it, because it's definitely worth a watch. And I think, especially for spooky season, it's a good mid-tier scary movie. If you're not really into getting super scared, but you still want a little bit of that excitement, then this is a good one to watch. It's very tense, but at the same time, it's definitely pretty manageable, at least in my opinion. Another reason why this film was so influential, specifically because of this scene, is because it was like a very fast cut with lots of different visual information all happening within a short period of time, which is pretty commonplace now. You know, we watch a lot of things that have super fast cuts and a lot of different shots. But at the time, I think it was pretty unheard of. And I do think that watching it with a modern eye, you can kind of get the sense that this is pretty chill. Like, it can even feel a little bit slow compared to some of the other things that have been made since then. But I can imagine that watching this at the time, it would have been pretty disorienting and kind of scary, especially because of the content factor. I know that Hitchcock actually did cut certain things out of the movie that were in the book, and that did happen in real life, kind of about the killer and some of his predilections. They left that out. They also changed a lot about the point of view. So the main character, who I've drawn first, she's not the main character, but she's one of the main characters. The story kind of starts off following her, and there's a lot of tension about certain things that she's done. Whereas in the original book, it starts focusing on the killer. And I think that was an interesting thing. This was another thing that was like really influential, that they lead you to think that there's gonna be more of certain characters than there is. And I think you see kind of that shock factor, that surprise, in other movies like Scream, or, you know, other horror movies. And this, well, I'm not going to explain this one because I think that would also be giving too much away, but it's scary, and you get it. There's scary imagery in this movie. And I'm actually going to be drawing in blue first, because I find that the pink marker is a little bit more dull and I can't get those fine lines the way that I want. So I'm going to try drawing with the blue first and getting some of the more finer details in first, and then going back in with the pink just as an overlay. And I do really like this color combination a lot, because it does kind of give me that vibe of like those old black and white 3D movies where they would give you the glasses with one red eye and one pink or one blue eye. And that kind of feels right for this movie, just because even though I don't think it was a 3D movie, it was kind of around the time when those were getting popular, I think, or maybe a little before that. And it does feel like it just lends itself to this. Although, when I see this color combination, I do feel a little bit triggered, because one of the first, like, fanzine, like, art books I ever made was a collaboration with some of my classmates from school, and we decided to do a risograph print, which is like an old printing process where they lay colors on top of each other separately. And I really didn't know enough about the process, and I didn't really know like what I wanted at the time. So I just threw something together, and wasn't happy with the results. And we ended up having so many printed out that I still have some years later, and I feel like maybe this can be a little bit of a redemption story for me with these colors, because they definitely remind me of that time, and not in a good way. So this scene is from another really tense and spooky scene. This is Detective Arbogast, and he is a private detective that gets hired by someone to look into what's happened, and he gets a hunch about something, and he enters the home of the killer. And he's really shocked and surprised while going up the stairs by the killer, and this is him falling backwards down the stairs after being surprise attacked. And I think this also feels like a big labor of love from the film team. It's like definitely something that you can tell took a lot of effort to create, and I think it shows in a good way, but also in a way that maybe modern viewers might not be as impressed by. But I just really love this character's face when he's going down the stairs. He seems like almost surprised, but also like bored or something. Like, I don't know, his facial expression is so specific, and I don't really know how to describe it, but it's just like, I don't know, one of my favorite things, and I think my favorite drawing, one of my favorite drawings in this set. And I was like practicing before shooting this, like sketching these out a little bit and deciding what I wanted to put in the final video, and I did film a couple of other scenes besides these ones, but I thought that maybe it would crowd it too much. I think I really only have space here for one more, so I'm gonna choose this scene from the end basically, and you can kind of guess, but I won't say what's happening. I'm just gonna say that this character is sitting alone in a creepy way, and it's funny because I don't really know. It's kind of difficult to show the creepiness level. This angle of the face is like hard for me to capture somehow, because he's like looking up, but also his face is like tilted down, and it's kind of hard to accurately portray this angle for me. And I did try to practice it a couple times, and I couldn't really get it where I wanted it to look like, but I'm just gonna go for it here because I do feel like it is another one of these iconic images from the film that I think if you just Google the film, this is the first picture that comes up. So I feel like I couldn't not attempt this one. But yeah, as you can see, I'm kind of failing. And I think also I started a little bit too big because I don't have space for the top of his head or anything like that. So I guess I'm just doing like a cropped version. Oh, I forgot his ears. And that's okay. I think when I go back over it with the other color, I might be able to cover up some of these mistakes, or I think just with the overlap of the colors, it kind of can add some dimension and make it look a bit better than it did before, because I think just the original blue line, I'm not that happy with the way it came out, but when I add this on top, I feel like it's starting to look a bit better, so that's okay. So yeah, this is my spoiler-free version, or my spoiler-free story of Psycho. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend you watch it this spooky season, and I hope you liked this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.